Katharina is a Swedish entrepreneur, public speaker, communication specialist, and a true change maker with a passion for sustainable business and sustainable lifestyle. She is the founder and CEO of Nudge and the initiator of Nudging Sweden. Katharina, welcome and over to you.
Thank you so much, Shuka, and very lovely to be here. What a great program you've put together. So I wanted to talk with you about how to get to action in sustainability. So why is the reason why we know what to do? And as Alberto also said, a lot of businesses, they truly want to be a part of creating that change. But how do we start and how do we get people to act on it? So Shuka, I was hoping that you and I could have a dialogue on this.
Absolutely. I remember your presentation on nudging, and I remember the cigarette butts was one of the examples that you had in your presentation, and it was quite memorable. So I think examples would be a good way to start.
Yeah, let's do that. So as mentioned, I work as a behavioral designer, and my team at Nudged, we are experts on behavioral change. And why is that important to start with? So right now we see a lot of investments and money coming into infrastructure and digital solutions, which is great. We truly need that. The world needs that. And my background, I am been working a lot with clean tech. So I'm a clean tech nerd to begin with. But somewhere on the way, I realized that tech is only one part of the solution for the future. We also need behavioral change. And these two needs to go hand in hand. So we use smart nudges, and a nudge is a method within behavioral science. It's called nudging, and it's a Nobel Prize winning method. And the example that you were referring to, Shuka, was something we did with the city in Gothenburg, where we tried to reduce the amount of cigarette butts in the streets. And instead of putting up punishment and angry signage, we put up a sign with saying that please put a cigarette butt in the ashtray because the pigeons are trying to quit smoking. So more of a humorous level, and that was actually 70% more efficient than the traditional ways that the city had worked with. But other examples is everything that makes it easy for people to do the right choice. Nudging is very often called choice architecture because we make so many decisions every day that our brain literally cannot do rational decisions all the time. So we need to change the architecture in how we design situations and how we can help people make the better choice without having to be this very aware consumer in every aspect of their life. So how can we design a situation to make things easier and to make sustainable choices easier?
Katharina, that's actually, it made me thinking because there is a growing awareness about consumerism these days and how we as consumers ought to change our behavior. And we often are very much scared in a way and fear the term change. When we are told that we need to change, we often are very much resistant to that. How do you overcome such a big challenge?
It is a big challenge because sometimes we tend to forget that in our DNA, we're just this herd of animals called Homo sapiens, that everything that would change our common ways are something that could be a threat towards us. So immediately we act as human beings that change is difficult, change is hard, and it's something to be scared of. So we only follow the herd. We do what everyone else does. But we can use that to our advantage instead. And within nudging, we call that social norms. So how do you change a social norm in the society? How do you change the social norm of consumerism or of taking the car everywhere? or basically just using too much energy. So what we need to do is to lead by example and also use those behavioral psychology tricks. So we tap into the brain behind and the reasons behind our decision making, and try to design it so it's easier to make the better choice. I can give you, I can share my screen and just give you one example of a platform that businesses use to do this, if you want to.
Sounds amazing. Yes.
If I have the time. Great. Okay, so I will do that. Share screen. All right. Can you see my screen now? With
No, we are.
No. All right. Let's try it again. Here we are. And now. How about now?
Yes, we have your screen.
Great. So I'll show you this one. So one thing to make it easier is to visualize. When it comes to CO2 emissions and really this type of scientific information, it's really hard for people to know how to act on it. So one thing we can do is to visualize it. For example, I know, Shuka, both you and I, we know that we should take the bike instead of the car, right?
Absolutely. I do use public transport. So
Great.
Quite happy with that.
And I think most people know how to behave, but why should we do it, and how do we get into the new habit of it? So this is a digital platform that we put together with using digital nudges. It's called Smart Travel Habits. And the first thing that you can see is this is a user called Constanza. She lives in the beautiful city of Jönköping in Sweden, and you see her house in the middle of the map. And then you can see a circle. The first circle says, how far does Constanza get if she walks for 20 minutes from her home? And the second circle is 20 minutes of biking. And the third circle is 20 minutes if she buys an e-bike. So just by visualizing this, she can get this aha experience of, oh, I can get to work with my bike and in less than 20 minutes. And if I buy an e-bike instead of a new car, I can get to my aunt living on the other side of the city in just 20 minutes. So this is just one example of how we need to make it really easy for our human brains to make these decisions, and how to visualize this type of more complex information. Because just putting the number on CO2 emissions is not enough for us to change our behavior.
I think the key point is that convenience. I think people are also, especially in this time and era, we are very much used to everything being so comfortable and convenient for us. So I think if that option is taken into consideration, it would be definitely a lot easier trying to convince people to change their behavior. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, of course. It needs to be approachable. It needs to be the best and most convenient choice. So that is really the key. So if you are a business trying to get your employees to be more climate friendly, or talking with your customers about that, everything you can do that makes that the most easiest, convenient choice, that's the key to success. Definitely. So it's not putting too much information or information overload, or doing a lot of longer educational programs. That's all good also. But when we have invested in for example, a new bike pool, or for the employees, we also need to make it easy for them to use it. So I said again, technology and behavioral design needs to go hand in hand, and simplification is really the key.
Absolutely. I was just about to say simplicity seems to be the key. Thank you, Katharina. We do have a question from our audience for you. Can you describe in more detail what SMART goals nudges are?
So a smart nudge or a nudge is any aspect of this choice architecture that aims to alter someone's behavior. So that's a very technical, description. We very often call it a friendly push in the right direction. So using a framing or humor or making the default option the best, smartest, and most sustainable option, that is nudges instead of punishment or tickets or monetary incentives.
Thank you, Katharina. And thank you so much for your time being with us here today. And it was just great to see you again.
Thank you. Can I give one last piece of advice? If someone is interested in learning more about nudging and how to work with nudging as a framework and a tangible framework, there is something called the nudging process, and it's a methodology, and I'll be happy to share it with you. So connect with me on LinkedIn or wherever, and I'll share it with you free of charge. No worries. We need to do this together.
Oh, thank you so much, Katharina.